of 2017 and 2018, as well as the EfengBacha Advisory Committee, came together on the 22nd till the 24th of February this year to develop what they call a South African Children's Manifesto. This happened in Boksburg here in Gauteng. Now, the children of South Africa have made this call upon political parties and executives, as well as officials in all spheres of government, the chapter 9 institutions, as well as state-owned enterprises, the business, labor, social movements, and the broader civil society organization to adopt and engage and implement, as well as to monitor the South African Children's Manifesto. Now, this manifesto contains 4 pillars of the Constitution, which are child protection, child development, child survival, as well as child participation to ensure the children's holistic as well as inclusive well-being. Now, I have a very important guest in studio now. We have Hoikana Maduna, as well as Sabelo Gaga. They are the junior board members of EfengBacha Advisory Committee of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, and they will talk to us more about this manifesto and what is contained in this. Good afternoon to both of you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, good afternoon, Hoikana. How are you guys feeling this afternoon?
Good.
Are you feeling good?
Yes.
All right. Now, the manifesto that you have in your hand, how did it come to be? Because I know there was a meeting that happened in February this year.
We met at Boksburg in Beachwood Hotel, and it came to be when children were saying their different kind of views. Yeah.
All right. So, Sabelo, there were representatives from the provinces as well. It wasn't just you guys from Gauteng,
yes,
but there were other kids and other children from other provinces.
Yes.
What were they saying? What were you guys talking about?
Actually, as we can see that we as children are not taken as citizens of the country South Africa. So we have came up with the first South African Children's Manifesto, where we find it as a platform where we could raise our issues, as the manifestos of other political parties do not recognize us.
All right. So, what exactly were you guys not happy with? What treatment were you not satisfied with from government?
We were not happy because, let me say, government didn't recognize us. They don't even know what children's rights are. They feel like we don't exist.
What are they doing? What is it that they're doing specifically that concerns you guys so much?
All they talk about in their manifestos, it's only about education. What about our protection? What about us being raped? What about us going to school safely if they really want us to be educated?
Yeah.
So the main issue that we were facing was of the political parties not being able to make our needs made possible, yeah. And you made mention of one of the pillars of your manifestos, which is children protection. Talk to us about that, Hoikana, because we've seen a number of events that are happening. Children are being bullied at school, some have to drop out, some they commit suicide. So I suppose those are some of the challenges that children come across.
Yeah, we decided that on the school transport, we figured out maybe at least may they check the drivers and the school, and may the government help the school provide free transport, because us as children, when we go to school at our own risk.
All right, so you want government to sort of ensure that there are control measures to ensure your safety while using transport.
Yes.
All right, so I think what is also important, Sabelo, about Manifesto is you guys don't just mention the problems and the challenges that you have, but you also try to come up with solutions to the problems.
Yes, actually, we thought it would be useless to only raise our issues and not say what we really want to see, the change we really want to see in the communities we live in. So we have, in each section, we have also listed our demands that should be done by the government for all those issues that we've raised to be fixed.
And part of what you guys are also mentioning on the manifesto, which I think is a very important point that you are making here, violent protests that happen in our communities. Our mothers, fathers, uncles and aunts, they go into violent protests, and the kids end up being affected by that. Do you want to talk to us about that? Or must we give it to you, Sabelo?
Okay. Okay, the violent protests that happen these days, police don't have enough strength to, that's what I can say, they do not have enough strength to stop the violent protest in the streets, as they disturb us from going to school when they burn tires on the streets and we can't pass. Sometimes they force us, the community forces us to go back home and not go to school during protests, because you can't be a parent and expect your son or daughter to go to school unsafely. So I think that's another issue that must be more focused on, is that's what makes us go back in education and not go forward.
Now let's look at hunger and poverty. The manifesto says that majority of children go to bed hungry without food. So what do you guys recommend that the government does in this instance? What do you think the government can do to look into this issue of children who still do not have food, who are poverty stricken?
We think that the government can at least try providing free food and
and increase the amount of social grants for basic needs, and also support the community based on food gardens. So those are our demands. We are not really saying the government should do, have to do. We are saying that the government should do these things, as they disturb us from focusing at school.
So you also spoke about the government not taking into consideration the rights of children. What do you think should happen? Have you given your manifesto to the government itself, or have you given it to the political parties contesting the elections?
We had an event where we had to meet with the political parties. Unfortunately, other political parties couldn't come, so ATM, the other political party, came, and we represented our manifesto.
And what was the response like? What did they say?
Actually, I think since the ATM was the only political party that came as we invited them, it clearly shows that other political parties don't consider us as South African citizens, as I've said before. So I think only hearing the response from the ATM is an achievement and a disappointment at the same time.
But let's hope some political parties are watching this interview and they'll surely be in touch with you guys, because I think you're raising very important issues in this manifesto that affects all the children here. So when we talk about children, how old is a normal children according to you guys and according to your manifesto? A child between what age?
I would consider that any child who is dependent, who is living with the parents and the parents provide
the parents' care.
That's a person I can consider as a child. So even though you're 38, but you still live under
so you're a child.
You're still a child.
All right. So tell me, for children who would love to get hold of this manifesto, how do they go about doing that? Is it available on the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund's website?
On our media pages, you can hashtag your vote, my future.
Hashtag your vote, my future. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming through, and thank you so much for this beautiful discussion that we've had. Thank you.
Thank you.
And all the best, eh? We hope that all other political parties are watching and then they'll get in touch with you guys. All right, well, there you have it. That's Sabelo Gaga and Hoikana Maduna talking to us about the Children's Manifesto that contains a whole range of concerns that they have as children and, of course, recommendations and solutions to the problems. We're taking a quick break here on SABC.